The skyline of San Francisco looking more like an image from Mars. The orange glow from wildfires burning miles away, shrouding the city's landmarks, the smoke blocking out the sun. The middle of the day felt like dusk, and it is unnerving.
I was wondering what time it was, and then I looked outside and it looked like doomsday. I mean, you could tell something is horribly going wrong, and as far as going to work and breathing in all this pollution is definitely not healthy for us as in the Bay Area.
It feels like the end of the world. It's pretty scary. I mean, I'm a lifelong Californian, and it makes me weep for what we've done to my poor state.
And those fires continue to rage across the western United States, driven on by strong, dry winds, burning more of California this year than ever before. And to the north in Oregon, an unprecedented number of fires destroying some whole communities. It is the speed with which these fires spread that's especially alarming.
This morning, police say the fires that tore through the towns of Talent and Phoenix, Oregon, destroying about 1,000 homes and killing 5 people, were intentionally started.
We were able to locate evidence and determine that this individual is likely the cause of the fire.
Michael Duran Bakela was charged with 2 counts of arson and multiple counts of criminal mischief. That as 500,000 people, 10% of Oregon's population, are in evacuation zones. At least 2 fires have converged, creeping closer to Portland, whose mayor has declared an emergency.
Greetings everyone from the surface of Mars. That is a joke. Before anyone rushes to go make a comment. I know that there's no such thing as the surface of Mars, that's why it's a joke. But yeah, so forgive me, I'm not trying to make light of things going on, but it's definitely been surreal this past week. So yeah, hopefully it's going to be starting to get under control in terms of both the fires and the smoke in the next few days, but we'll see. We've just kind of been holding in this dead, smoky air pattern for, I don't know how many, 4 or 5 days now. It's definitely not as yellow as it was the first couple of days. It really felt like you were on another planet, as cliche as that sounds. But you know what was even weirder, that added to the whole eeriness of it all, was that for the first 2 days, the birds were just silent. And I was starting to wonder if they'd all just, left, gone and flew away somewhere. But no, then on like Thursday evening, they just suddenly started all chirping and singing again, like, oh yeah, we're still here. And they just suddenly started talking, and it was like turning on a nature soundtrack in the background, that I'm so used to hearing now, being outside a lot. Having that it was just dead, eerie silence that was just so odd. So I was so happy to hear the birds singing again. And they're still pretty quiet now compared to, your typical day. But they're kind of out and just quietly, you can hear them just ever so faintly. But for 2 days, it was like I just would stand there for like 10 minutes and nothing. So that was pretty crazy. And of course, the more meta-narrative stuff that's coming out of this now is starting to kind of unfold, and it's not too difficult to see kind of how it's playing into so many things that were already unfolding and unraveling, and wow, it's it sucks, I gotta say, because it is what it is, and there's, in one sense, it's like, yeah, you can see all these different sides just continuing to be spun, and the governor of California is standing up and saying, climate change is undeniable. Look at California. How many years have people been talking about this whole idea of fomenting a civil war within the United States to collapse it and bring it down? And you see what's going on just in 1 year. It has been quite a year already, and now the biggest every year has been the biggest fire in California for the past 10 years pretty much. But then on top of all the weirdness of everything going on this particular year, and the riots and the insanity, especially that's been going on here in Portland, it's just unspeakable insanity on so many levels. It's just mind-blowing. But I was starting to get even a little bit I guess now I have to admit I was getting still, I was just trying to enjoy what you could enjoy. I went to the coast a few weeks ago and got to go to the gorge and just being outside and in nature, and there's so much awesome things to even try and enjoy, while the weather is still nice and sunny and beautiful, and forget downtown, forget the city. But now it's like you can't even, this is pretty epic devastation, and just on so many levels, not just the people who are being displaced and who are losing their homes and businesses, and people actually dying in the fires. I don't even know how many people at the end of it. And they've officially arrested, this one guy as of yesterday. There might even be more. But this is the crazy thing, is that how many arrests, and how even that in the media, what you see in the media, at least here on the local Portland news the other day, few days ago, and I've been trying to find this clip, but I can't find it now. But basically the whole story was about all the crazy QAnon conspiracy theorists calling in and overwhelming the emergency services, and overwhelming 911 dispatch about reporting Antifa members starting fires and doing arson, right? So that was the story, was basically the danger of all these crazy conspiracy theorists calling in, not nothing about the danger of what if there is even a handful of people who may decide to go out and start fires for whatever reason, and the immense amount of danger that poses to human life and safety and health and property and economic devastation. I mean, it's amazing to see this unfold. Because yes, we know that. I mean, here it's been sunny here, at least in Portland. The weather's been pretty hot, and it's definitely dry, but it's not like just insanely dry. I don't think it's even been a drought technically, although I can't say that for sure. But yeah, it's been pretty dry the last month or two. But the way these fires, it was just sunny one day, and then yes, on the news they announced, there's going to be this epic wind event. And sure enough, about 5 o'clock Monday night, it just, boom, hits like a wall. I was driving to the store to try and get ice in case the power went out. And just like, to me, it came from the north, but supposedly it was coming from the east. I don't know. Maybe that's just the way it goes through the terrain here, probably. But, just super high, sustained winds that lasted for about a day or two, a day and a half, whatever it was. And during that time, all the smoke from the fires, it was bringing in smoke from the north, from up in Washington, but it was also keeping most of the smoke from the fires directly to the south around Salem, kind of at bay. So it was still blue sky, but you could see on the horizon just crazy oranges and purples and crimson. And I should have got more pictures, but I didn't. It just, a lot of times it wouldn't really capture very well, but yeah, it was just right over the horizon. But then so the winds just blew solid for like a day. Yeah, perfect time to start and spread wildfires, right? Because you have just strong, sustained winds and dry conditions, obviously. Perfect time, if anyone's of the inclination, whether for their own personal pyromania, whatever, or whatever other orchestrated, agenda, there you go. And unlike a lot of, previous history, so many of these fires were very close to, basically the whole I-5 corridor, all up and down the West Coast. And this is not really breaking news to anyone who, has the eyes to see and the ears to hear that there was no lightning, there was no storms to create the lightning. And there's so many of these fires, and sure, of course, however many of them could have been set just accidentally or through whatever. That definitely happens, but there's so many of them, and yeah, most of them are not way out in the middle of nowhere in some national forest. Compared to, it's definitely suspicious, to put it mildly. And again, I'm not trying to, yeah, it's not funny, because we're talking about, I mean, the whole West Coast has been just under a smoke cloud, and yeah, businesses that are trying to, these restaurants that are trying to stay open and have outdoor eating and things, I mean, and of course the psychological, I guess that's what's most fascinating is, hearing all these, it's kind of the cliche responses, it looks like the apocalypse, it looks like doomsday, and yeah, I haven't seen the stars in coming up on almost a week. And the first day, the sun, this is a picture from my front yard. That first day when the wind stopped, and the sun was just like a little pink dot. It looked, it was not the diameter that the sun is supposed to look when it's middle of the afternoon, because there was no clouds. These are not clouds, it's just smoke clouds, and so, I mean, but yeah, it's not hard to see if you are of the presence of mind to do so, to where you're not caught up in some sort of left-right paradigm. And that's the thing that I think, I don't know if it's even frustrating at this point. It just is what it is, and I think I'm kind of beyond the point of even getting quite so triggered by it. Whether it's the QAnon thing is obviously hitting the mainstream. It's being demonized in precisely the way it was designed and prepared to be, and to where now it's infiltrating the Trump campaign and the Trump thing, and the fact that he hasn't just come out and flatly dismissed anything to do with it or just denounced QAnon, but he hasn't affirmed it, enough to just keep it going, right? To keep all the QAnon hype alive by not out now. I mean, anyone who still thinks Trump is, I don't know. I can't even really waste my energy on that conversation anymore. It's so patently absurd. But that's why, every time you stop and you're kind of forced to be drawn into, okay, what's happening now? What's really going on here? And what are the ways that it's being used to fuel just the whole broader agenda? It does ultimately just bring you back to the spiritual reality behind it all. And, it's been weird, because on the one hand, I know that this is just as insane and massive in scope as these fires have been, and as just crazy the sky has looked over the past week. And I know that this is probably going to fade in the next week or so. I mean, who knows? It could turn around and mysteriously just hover for weeks. I mean, I really hope that isn't the case, but at the same time, it wouldn't shock me, unfortunately. So we'll see. I am praying for blue skies or rain or anything, wind of any kind. And God can make that happen. It is still His world. However much they can manipulate all these things, which obviously they can. And that's the thing. I was going to get into that. It is interesting, I think, that, because it's not just this one guy that arrested, but there's all sorts of reports, and you can definitely see that for the people that want to buy into whether it's like QAnon or just whatever, your far right, where you're still thinking in terms of left, right, and you're still thinking in terms of it's the Democrats or it's whatever that is really waging war against the American people, versus a cabal of globalists and bankers and international corporate people who, it's not about partisan politics at all, really. Globalism, right? It's the dissolving of sovereignty, national sovereignty, right? Altogether. But yeah, just the fact that, we know that they don't even need human beings running around with gas cans and blowtorches and whatever to start forest fires. So, the fact that there have at least been one, and maybe he is just some crazy dude who wanted to go start fires when, you could use drones, there's all sorts of ways. It's not that hard if you are the powers that be, the powers that are bought into the idea of the phoenix who will rise out of the ashes of the old. But even though I know it's probably, hopefully, only temporary, and I will see blue sky again, and clouds. It definitely gets you thinking about the times in the Bible where it talks about where the sun will be blocked out, or the moon will turn red, and signs in the sky, and where men will gnaw their tongues in agony from the groping in darkness, and just all sorts of things that could unveil at the end. And it almost to get just kind of like a little preview, just a little preview. This isn't. It looks like doomsday. It's not doomsday. The stars are not falling out of the sky like figs from a fig tree or anything like that, which I do believe will literally happen, and people will watch the stars fall to the earth and whatever that all entails. I don't know. I don't fear that, though. I don't fear if I'm alive and I get to see that. I mean, it just means Jesus is at the door, just right around the corner, And that's the thing, is that when you read Revelation, you see that God is preserving his own through all that stuff. And even though there's the persecution of the Antichrist and the beast system, which of course people attribute to part of the tribulation, because it is, but God is preserving his own even in the midst of hailstones the size of men, and these crazy creatures coming out of the pit, and their scorpion tails stinging people who have the mark. I mean, that's an interesting one always. Because those who are sealed with the mark of God, they can't touch. And, that's miraculous, supernatural preservation and protection in the midst of the craziest era of world history, in a way, at that point. And so it's, as somber and as kind of foreboding as this whole week has been, it's also been, I've had actually a lot of peace, oddly enough. Although, if my house was being burned down, that would be a lot harder to sit here and talk about peace, even though it's like, well, it's just smoke. I don't know. Maybe it's just perspective, and sometimes just being thankful for the day that he preserves us on, day by day, provides what we need, and that might mean losing our home, whether a fire or a flood or something comes in and just destroys it, or you having to get up and leave because of other reasons, and go trust in God's provision in whatever way or whatever other place. And I mean, there's real upheaval that is it was already going on, right? I mean, so now we have all these people being displaced, at least 10,000. I mean, they were talking about like 10% of the state being on here in Oregon. I don't know how many people in California, but most of the people have just been on like alert. But if you're losing your house, that's pretty devastating. And at the same time, it's kind of, it's sobering to stop and go, there's nothing that Satan is really not prepared to do to bring things about, and to just create more chaos, and to create more pain and destruction and deception, so that he can turn around and offer to be the savior. I mean, that's really, we can get so focused on the human players and the human actors and the human pawns, whether you're talking about some BLM protester screaming and trying to burn down buildings and, thinking they're fighting for racial justice, that kind of a pawn on that kind of level, or a pawn in the White House or in Congress, or your mayors and governors. But then, of course, there are a lot of people still in law enforcement, and I mean, apparently the fire marshal, I just saw this is kind of weird, the fire marshal of Oregon just resigned kind of out of the blue, and this other younger woman, I'll put up a shot of it, I don't know anybody's names, but the fire marshal of Oregon just stepped down and was replaced in the middle of this whole week, and with not a lot of explanation. And it sounds like, well, he was saying that there was no cooperation from the state like there usually is. So basically what has been going on within Portland proper, to where people are starting to get fed up to the point of like, are you trying to just destroy your own city for the sake of political correctness? I mean, it's like suicide, economically and just every way. Like, why would you destroy your own city? Like, are you just that dumb? Or now on a state level, when we have a state emergency like fires threatening homes and lives and property and everything like that, massive economic devastation, you're more concerned about the crazy QAnon conspiracy people clogging up the phone lines than you are about people actually going out and setting fires. And then the state isn't coordinating with all the different fire departments, and there's something going on, it's sabotage in a way that can be just then painted as like, oh, it's those idiot Democrats and they're, stupid, progressive, liberal, blah, 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 which is what, of course, majority of people, that's the whole point, is that it's just going to fuel that reactionary to the point of violence, I think, eventually, because it's blatant enough, it's blatant to the people who are being affected by it and see it and understand that, like, yeah, of course these people will go out and start fires. They were trying to burn down buildings, burn down police departments with, 30 people inside and burn them alive. So if you can do that when somebody's like right on the other side of a window and they're in there and you can see their faces, and yes, these people who would burn people alive have been taken to the streets night after night in the city, and then when they do get arrested, they just get released the next day, which is why I think why they got so mad at the whole. That's why the whole federal police thing, the federal officers coming in and they're unmarked vans and they're just stealing people and it was because you're actually going to get locked up and not just released in 12 hours. And again, I'm not a fan of the federal martial law any more than I am of local militarized police. So again, that's another false dichotomy. It's a tapestry of false dichotomies and false paradigms. Hegelian, it's just a massive Hegelian tapestry really at this point. And we're not even to October, so we're not even quite halfway through September, and it's been pretty bizarre. And here it is, Sunday, so it's the first day of the NFL here in the United States, which, if you're not from America, is traditionally a very, very big deal to a lot of people here. And I don't know how many are still even kind of buying into this, because there's been all the social justice agenda that has been poured into the NFL, and on Thursday people actually booed when they did their little unity ceremony or whatever, and that's been in the news. But now... So there was a few fans at the Chiefs game. I don't know how they decided who got to go in there, but it was just weird. But all the ones I kind of peeked in this morning just to see, and the completely empty stands. And so they're just basically playing a scrimmage, right? As if they were just out on the practice field with two NFL teams and coaching staff and stuff. But it's kind of hilarious, but I'm only bringing this up because it was just like, here we are. Like, how many people right now are sitting in their homes it's not just the West Coast that has had these fires. Obviously, it's all over the country. And, whether you're sitting under a haze of, it's now gray smoke instead of yellow smoke. So that's an improvement, I guess. But sitting inside as, the world is burning around you and you're watching football with, it's like a laugh track, except it's like there's a fake stadium soundtrack in the background to the game, because it would just be so weird if you were actually watching it without that. It would, it's like they chose to just make a fake stadium crowd sound that they turn up, like, just like a laugh track where you turn up the laughs when, the sitcoms makes the dumb joke. And so, but the crowd cheers. It's like it cheers when the offense does something good and the defense does something good, and so nobody's going to boo, right? Because there's no boo track. Nobody's going to boo the social justice stuff anymore. So people are sitting there watching this theater, gladiator, stupid sports ball theater. It's amazing. So thank you for your prayers and just how awesome so many of you guys have been. Just especially, this whole year, as things have really... getting more serious all the time. And I know, for me personally, if I didn't really have the community of folks that I've found because of exploring this crazy ideas about biblical cosmology and how this fits into prophecy and world events and all the deceptions going on, and how encouraged I've been by actually getting to meet and interact or even just read comments and watch other people. I didn't have that for however many years, and that was really, really hard. And it's still hard now because we're all just spread out all over the world, and I think so much at the time we just wish we could all be together and get to experience more than just this whole, this internet connected quasi replacement for real community. But at the same time, we've been called to be salt and light. So this is how it has to be, really, for us to be wherever God has placed us, and to be, representatives of His kingdom, wherever He's had us be. But I am thankful just to have people out there who see what's going on and are able to, be there to lean on each other and to encourage each other and help us just focus on the eternal perspective of it all. Because we don't know exactly how, we don't know what tomorrow brings. We don't know how much time there is left in history, whether, it's coming to an end very, very soon or 100 years from now. We really don't know. But we do know that, things are just unfolding all the time, in ways that I think, if you're the coincidence theorist, the diehard coincidence theorist, I can't imagine all the things you have to employ cognitive dissonance to still chalk up to coincidence in 2020. But, how amazing, the people, when people see that and they just sort of instinctively, like on a gut spirit level, look at the sky and be like, something is wrong. It's foreboding. It's like, it's the end of the world. Is that something that people just got from pop culture, or is that something that's sort of hardwired into the human heart and mind? I definitely would say it's the latter. So it's interesting, right? God gives us so many signs and so many just things from His own creation to look at and see, like, that He is real, that you have a provider, that there is a designer, that there is a creator, there is a father, and that it's not the universe. It's like a real self-existing holy God. And He says that heaven and earth will pass away. They will literally burn up. The elements melting in the heat, which is beyond anything any kind of forest fire that just burns it's way beyond just burning the foliage and trees off the surface. That's just unimaginable. What people think of with the sun, the supernova, which again does not exist. The sun is not a nuclear reactor, in case anyone's wondering. But it's like, where there's smoke, there's fire, Or there's evidence of human beings conspiring together to do this, that, or the other. Follow the evidence, follow the money, follow the ideologies, and then you can learn about all that. You can follow all the rabbit trails. You can learn about all the globalism. You can see all the New World Order smoke, and the digital ID and the digital currency and the microchip. People know about the mark of the beast. People who do not believe in the Bible talk about the mark of the beast and the beast system and the technocracy and this and that, and then yet they're still clinging to an idea of, no, we're going to overthrow that and build our own free, good society. But we're not going to throw away our iPhones or the internet. We're going to somehow redeem it all and save it all. And, rather than go, wow, there's a lot of evidence here that seems to kind of support what this Bible thing that was written 2,000 years ago has been talking about. The fire that it's been talking about, the fire of sin and rebellion, the fire of this war that's been going on between the kingdom of heaven and the gates of hell, a war that was won before it even began, and yet we're all in the middle of, because we are born into this fallen world, and we're given the ability to choose, whether you want to admit that the fire is really what it is, or you're just going to stumble around in the smoke until it's too late, until the reality of eternal fire is there. Is there really any quote-unquote crazy conspiracy theory that is more controversial and offensive to people than just what the Bible says about hell and eternity? People being separated from God because they refused to repent. They just refused to repent and worship Him and love the God who loves them more than anyone ever could. Not that I can think of. So if you're going to be offended by something, it's like, well, the conspiracy theory, otherwise known as the gospel of Jesus Christ, you can be offended by that. Everything else is just an outworking of what the Bible has told us all along going on. So we can rejoice and we can have peace in the midst of it, and we can endure, and we can worship together with gladness, and spur each other on towards good works, because we have a hope that is unable to be consumed by fire or floods or, whatever, death. An everlasting inheritance. That's what we have. I love you guys. God bless. See you later.
Knowing this truth, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lusts, and saying, Where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation. For this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. But the heavens and the earth, which are now, by the same word are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. But, beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day.